This night is cold in the kingdom. I can feel you fade away.
Wisconsin. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was the first son of Lionel and Joyce Dahmer. 6 years later, his younger brother was born, and the family was complete. Their home life appeared perfect. However, behind closed doors, his mother suffered from extreme anxiety and attempted suicide by overdosing on pills. Dahmer's first school teacher wrote in her report that she believed he was neglected at home. Dahmer's father recalled how his son's fantasies connected with death and sex began with roadkill during his childhood. He revealed, "Jeffrey cut them open to examine the insides of the animals. He did what most all of us young males do when the hormones kick in tremendously, and he was doing something sexually with them. And I think the neuronal connections, made contact and sort of hardwired Jeff. If these early warning signs had not been dismissed as childhood hormones, the future cannibal killer's urges might not have escalated." 1. Will come as no surprise to anyone familiar with Dahmer's crimes that during childhood, he had a collection of animals' corpses he kept in his clubhouse. A young Dahmer was 4 years old when he began collecting animal bones because he was fascinated by how they would fit together. He also killed many of the animals himself. His scientist father, who was struggling to bond with his distant son, decided to appease this childhood curiosity by showing him how to clean and preserve animal parts properly. With this technique Dahmer learned from his father, he would later use to preserve the body parts of his victims, which he kept in his own apartment. Dahmer's violent and gruesome tendencies may have been triggered by events during his early years. While pregnant with Jeffrey, Joyce Dahmer began taking medication for a health issue. After he was born, Dahmer had problems with his legs and was immobilized until he was 4 months old. His mother's battle with depression and antidepressants did not help her bond with her young child as she soon stopped breastfeeding. Dahmer was also treated for several infections as a young girl. Dahmer's parents were granted a divorce, following each accusing the other of extreme cruelty and gross neglect of duty. A former neighbor, Susan Layer, said of Dahmer's childhood, "The police were out several times. When I knew him, there was something devastating going on in his life, and there wasn't anybody there to help him. I feel bad about that." Following the divorce, his mother moved out of town with his younger brother, and his father also left the family home. Dahmer was left alone. He began drinking heavily, and at the age of 18, he committed his first murder. On June 18, 1978, he brought a hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks back to the house where he choked and bludgeoned him to death with a sledgehammer. Dahmer said, "The guy wanted to leave, and I didn't want him to leave." He then scattered the bones in his yard, and more than a decade later, police were able to recover more than 500 pieces of bone. 4. 6 weeks after the murder of Stephen Hicks, Dahmer enrolled at Ohio State University with hopes of majoring in business. However, his alcoholism meant that he only achieved low grades, and he dropped out after just 3 months. In 1979, his father then encouraged him to join the U.S. Army, where he trained as a medical specialist.
This night is cold in the kingdom. I can feel you fade away. From the kitchen to the bathroom sinking.